But the shocking news that happened was with 3 games left in the Denver Nuggets season, they have parted ways with head coach Mike Malone. They are 15 games over 500. This was his 8th straight winning season, of course, winning the title back in 2022. This is the latest we have had a coaching change in 45 years. He is the winningest head coach in the history of the Denver Nuggets. Why don't we go to the statement from Kroenke, the governor, just to show what they said after this shocking firing. This is from Josh Kroenke, the governor. No pleasure that we have announced that we have relieved Michael Malone of his head coaching duties. He goes on to say David Adelman will assume that role. He says the timing of the decision is unfortunate, that Coach Malone helped build the foundation of a championship level program. Goes on to say we look forward to building on that foundation over his record-breaking 10-year career. It is with our utmost respect, we'd like to thank Coach Malone for the most successful decade in Nuggets history, setting the all-time wins record and helping deliver Denver our first championship. Now, people online today were noticing that in recent press conferences, maybe Malone's attitude was a foreshadowing. Take a listen.
My job is to be honest. It was a brutally honest message, and the guys that are full of won't hear it. You know, they'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. We'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. And nobody said a word. Each guy's got to look themselves in the mirror and start coming to each respective game with the proper mindset and have some pride.
Michael Malone, a seasoned NBA coach, was recently dismissed as head coach of the Denver Nuggets. His tenure with the team was marked by significant achievements, such as leading the Nuggets to their first NBA championship in 2023 and becoming the franchise's winningest coach with a record of 471 wins and 327 losses. However, in 2025, the 2025 season saw a decline in performance, with the team enduring a 4-game losing streak and only securing 3 victories in the last 10 games. This downfall sided with injuries to key players like Jamal Murray and concerns over defense lapses. Additionally, internal conflicts between Malone and general manager Calvin Booth, particularly regarding player development. That's a key phrase right there. Player development and development strategies contributed to the team's struggles. Now, Karn, welcome back to the show.
What up?
And we want to just talk about it. Let's get right into it. This is the second premier coach being fired so close to the end of the season. Now, what is your take on that? Michael Malone getting fired now? Like less than a week in the season?
This is bizarre. Again, like you alluded to, Memphis as well, dispersed of their coach. Outside of, if we don't find out in the next day or two that this was a direct decision that Joker wanted this change, this is absolutely just bizarre. Because again, both the coach and the general manager are gone. So to me, it's one thing if you were to remove the general manager at this point. Yeah, okay,
right.
You know, even the draft in a few months or whatever, you could understand that. But again, a coach who won a championship just a couple of years out as well. This is bizarre. This smells of personal as opposed to performance, because again, Denver's 4th place in the West, a team that's recently won a championship, a team that they've been in a struggle over the last 10 or so and seeing their position drop, but the playoffs start in a matter of weeks, a week or two. What are you hoping for this season?
So let me ask you this: do you think the internal conflict, was so toxic that they had to make a change right at this minute? That maybe Joker, like you said, Joker did go to the owner and said, you know what, I'm not having it. You know, like
outside of that, anything else is just bizarre. It's bizarre, and it had to only personal, something so personal to upper management again would allow for this to happen. anything else, any little skirmish or anything, you got to be able to put on your big boy pants at this point and say, listen here, we'll reassess after the season's done. Let's put on a bold face. Let's go out there. Let's rally and let's try to end the season in a fashion that we're all pulling in the one direction. What now? Your assistant coach takes over. Do you really think that's gonna spur this team into a successful playoff run? Wow, this just smells of Denver just looking to bow out and go on vacation early this season.
I think the deciding factor was when Joker got that just historic game, 61 points, triple-double, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and they find a way to lose a game. Yeah. You know, I think that was the tipping point for Joker. If you said that's where the tension is within the locker room, I'm looking at the roster, and Mike Malone had to play with that roster so many times. Joker had to be playing with different lineups on a consistent basis, and the only person that he could rely on, and this is a question mark, was Russell Westbrook. So let's be honest here. Like, Westbrook has been on a farewell tour, but he's not on a farewell tour. He's just been touring different teams, not even different cities. Like, he's been, jumping teams quite frequently. And when Jamal Murray went out, rightly so, he always goes out every year, and that's another question, and that's another topic for another day. Westbrook had an opportunity to step in and really make a difference. If he could consistently put up, let's say, 15 to 20 points, I'm sure that we would not be in the position that we're in with Michael Malone right now, being on the hot seat.
But again, now, I don't know where you fall on this, but do you think it's Joker's call that to have the coach moved out at this point?
A player of that...
Because I'm assuming the higher ups must have
they must have had to check
checked in with him.
They had to check in with Joker. They had to. Hey man, like, I think that's where it is. Like, player development. There's a question mark around that. Defensive lapses. Like, that does fall on the coach. Like,
but when your best player is and the anchor of most defenses is the center, is Joker, who is not the greatest defensive player. How can that fall on the coach? And I understand the coach is going to now have to provide schemes to try to cover up to the best of his ability. But even Joker himself would have to understand that, yeah, that's kind of a little bit on me. So how much blame can be shifted to the coach
here's where
his weakness is a problem?
I think Joker does so much, let's say, offensively and defensively. He affects the game so much that
defensively.
Well, rebound.
Okay. Okay.
And he's a big body. So let's just say he's saying to himself, man, for the last 4 or 5 years I've been maybe 1-2 in the voting for MVP, right? He's a marquee superstar, if not in the question for the best player in the NBA today. You're wasting his talent. And he's like, look at this. Watson has not developed the way we thought he would.
Fair.
There's a lot of young talent on the team that possibly just not panned out the way they should. Michael Porter Jr.
But this is the same roster pretty much that won the championship.
Not necessarily. You lost a veteran
of
Bruce Brown,
of KCP. You lost KCP. Yeah, you lost a couple.
You lost some.
But your starting five is pretty much intact outside of KCP. And again, you're talking about bench depth. Yeah, and again, the general manager, I could totally understand something falling on the general manager for not finding ways to add talent to this roster. Get it. The coach can only coach the guys that are on the roster. So, again, whether it was Joker calling for this or Joker not having strong enough voice in support of him, in one fashion or another, Joker is going to be looked upon as the scapegoat potentially, or whatnot. And if he doesn't outright say, "Hey, I wanted a change," he has to be.
Okay, I agree with that. Let's look at some other factors though. What's he really saying? He's looking at the team and he's like, Jamal's not ever really available to play.
So okay. So I'm gonna go from a different point because I just heard something today. I heard that a clip of Shaq saying he would make what did he say? Some Blackie chicken out of Joker, right? If he was playing in 2001 Shaq, which I totally agree with him, right? Joker would probably
to an extent.
Joker would be fouled out in a few minutes regarding Shaq in 2001.
Okay.
Joker wouldn't have a chance to produce triple doubles.
Right.
He'd be 5-10 points,
If
a couple
you
rebounds,
to power
and he'd be
forward
out.
and put another big man on Shaq that possibly could protect Joker.
Yeah, but let us not forget, Shaq. There was 5 guys.
100.
Teams
I agree,
had 5 big
I
men
agree,
to guard
I agree.
Shaq.
Okay.
All right, so there was a reason for that. So I don't know
So
what kind of
point are
night
you really
Joker.
trying to make that Shaq saying?
Again, the point I was going to is the fact that big men, right? Big men, especially when it gets to playoff time, dictate and dominate games. So he should be, whether his team is thinned out a little bit or whatnot, still be able to drive his team to a finals. If he is that guy, right? It's one thing to put up stats and numbers, yes, but he should be the driving force in playoff games where high percentage and timely baskets matter the most. All right, it's no longer about we're just running up and down and shooting threes, and no, it's high percentage, crucial baskets, being able to obtain a basket in crucial moments. And a big man, a dominant big man, is always an answer to that.
Let me break this down now, okay? And it boils down to, we go back to the last game that he had a triple-double, well, the 61-point triple-double. You're saying he should be able to...
Like all great big men have always been able to drive their teams to championships.
Now here we're going to say, this was the first time it's been done in NBA history. So that's never been done before.
What's that?
60 points.
Okay.
Triple-double. Mm-hmm. What more do you want him to do? That I think that's what he's asking himself. 60 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. What more do you want me to do at this stage of the game? And that I hear what you're saying, but give another person 60 points and a triple-double with a better supporting cast, and I think that's what he's alluding to. 60 points, triple-double, you want him to still do more? This has never been done in NBA history. He's done, and you still want him to do more? He's saying to myself, we still find ways to lose, and I'm breaking record.
To me, if that was done in the playoffs, totally different frustration.
He doesn't want to wait till it gets to the playoff for that to happen. So
do that in the regular season, great, whatever. But
let's talk about
playoff time.
Okay.
Playoff time. All right. He should be the driving force. Everyone wants to herald him one of the greatest big men of all time, which I won't even argue with. But if he is truly this great of a big man in a league where there are less than a handful of good big men, right? Self-made big men. There's Embiid who can't ever play basketball. There's AD who doesn't want to be a center. Mm-hmm. And then I run out of big men.
Here's where the problem is, Karen.
He should dominate. He should be able to pull that team to a finals. He should be the one driving. A couple of role players, Murray, as long as Murray's healthy, Porter, and we know Gordon has his time to turn up in the playoffs
anymore. He doesn't.
But Porter is what he is. He's a spot-up
and Murray,
shooter.
You can't really count on him. He's never on the court.
But when playoffs come, Murray has always shown himself, as long as he's healthy, to show up when the games matter.
I hear what you're saying on that.
So
but can we really depend on that?
With that, he should be the force that brings Denver to the top. Denver should be in the conversation for a title, where most of us right now are not thinking that they have a title run in them.
You have a point,
but you have Joker,
and I agree with you. However, I'm going to say this: Joker has what? Is he going to win the MVP, or is he not going to win the MVP?
Probably not this year.
But he's still in conversation. He's 1 and 2 for conversation. He's put himself in a position to say, okay, I'm going to be the leader of this team. I'm going to be the leader of the league. I'm going to show you guys and demonstrate this is how you guys get things done. Follow me. If they don't follow him, if they're not, keeping up to their end of the bargain, what more can he do? if you are playing with a bunch of scrubs, and I'm not calling them scrubs.
Stop for a second. Stop here. Would again, I'm holding Joker to the standard that we would have held Shaq to, we would have held Olajuwon to, we would have held all the greats to. When would we ever say, "Oh, Shaq, oh, just because that's B. Shaw out there, and oh, that's Keon George or George Lynch or oh, you shouldn't win a title. You shouldn't be in the mix to be able to carry that team to a title." No, we never said that. Anytime Shaq was on the court in his prime, we expected Shaq to dominate and his team to be a factor in the getting to a championship.
And I'm happy that you brought that point up because Shaq with all-stars Penny Hardaway, Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson, Horace Grant are considered the supporting cast that Jokic have now.
Yes.
You should be able to get it done, Shaq, but you just can't get it done because the supporting cast can't do it. And
the only thing I would rival there, and that was a fairly young Shaq, as opposed to Joker in his prime.
But
right
you
now.
put Shaq with another Hall of Famer and you three-peat. You put Shaq with another Hall of Famer and you go to another city and you win another title.
Okay.
You put Olajuwon with Hall of Famers and you have back-to-back titles.
Okay.
So when you put Jokic with what? One-time All-Star and a
But one
dunk
thing,
contest finalist?
wait, a guy who
so-
hold on a second,
Okay.
hold on a second. A guy who always falls back on Michael Jordan. These guys were up against Michael Jordan. Is Joker up against Michael Jordan? Is Joker up against Michael Jordan? Destroyed many a man's championship aspirations. Joker has no Jordan to go against.
Michael.
Do not use Mike's name in vain.
All right. Let's go back to one of the concerns that the upper management had. Player development, right? Jordan developed the whole Chicago Bulls. So there was no question marks. Pippen, 6-time champion. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sure he probably did.
Yeah.
And Hall of Famer. Jordan had another Hall of Famer. Joker doesn't have no mention of any Hall of Famers that he's playing with. He has a dunk contest finalist and a one-time All-Star that barely stays on the court. So saying that, and he has a small forward that in many people's eyes is overpaid.
Of course,
Like,
I'm sure you can have all quibbles you want with that. But Murray, when playoffs come, Murray is the equivalent of a guy who is Hall of Fame bound.
You're going to call Murray playoff Jimmy now? Is that what you're saying?
He pretty much has that same swag. His game elevates.
He had one magical playoff run. Don't say he's been in the playoffs and that's when his performance elevates.
Of course it has.
We have no evidence.
Of course it does.
They have only
when
one
he plays
title.
in the playoffs, look at his numbers.
I can't agree with you because they have one title.
They have one title, but again,
and that one title he played magical throughout the whole playoff series.
Okay. Again, I'm not saying that he has Hall of Famers on his, but the NBA seems to let everyone into the Hall of Fame nowadays. So who knows? Jamal Murray, if he stays healthy for a few more years, who knows? He may be a Hall of Fame bound guy too. But it still falls on Joker. If people are gonna say he's this type of level of player,
I agree.
Especially as a big man in a league with no big man, so there's very little resistance. Hence, why you're seeing these 60.
I agree with you. So listen,
he should be able to pull that team.
It's just unfortunate that everyone else that hold to the same standard has a lot more help than what he has. But Joker, because you're so great, you should be able to elevate that team to the same level as the other teams that we're talking about with multiple Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers versus Jokers who has dunk finalist.
So what team do you see out there that is so dominant that Joker, who is the best player in the league, right?
Right.
One of the great top big men of all time, right?
Okay.
As people want to say at this point. What team in this league right now should Joker look at and say, "Oh, with these all-star level guys I have around me, my team is not good enough to compete with"?
Boston Celtics.
Boston Celtics, right? With how many potential Hall of Famers on their team?
You tell me.
One.
Porzingis is a potential Hall of Famer.
No, he's
the
not.
Unicorn is a potential Hall of Famer.
No.
Jaylen Brown, potential Hall
He
of Famer.
can't get on the court. Porzingis is the same thing you said with Murray.
Brown,
He doesn't get on the court.
Jaylen Brown.
Maybe Jaylen Brown. That's about it. Tatum, yes. Jaylen Brown, potentially. That's it.
Horford.
If you're factoring in the college, maybe. Because he had the back-to-back at Florida, but NBA Hall of Famer? No.
I'm just saying. And the team
So,
is stacked. The team
right?
is stacked.
So him against any team in this league,
Kyrie.
and there's no big man to guard him.
Who?
Joker.
7 foot Kristaps Porzingis? What are you
He
talking
should
about?
dominate that matchup.
Come. Okay. So okay.
Lightweight?
How much? Okay. So how much points would he need to score to dominate? In your opinion.
But again, we've seen
What's
through the
dominating?
record that when Joker scores over 40 or whatever, it doesn't necessarily correlate to wins for the Denver Nuggets,
again,
right?
like I said, we're not going to take too much time on this, but like I said, 60-point triple-double, something that's never been done in NBA history. He's dominating the boards.
Yeah.
He's getting his team involved, and he's controlling the whole pace of the game. But his team somehow finds it to not score on an empty layup and then foul on a 3-point shot. That's like
So to me now,
what I'm trying to say is
what this comes down to in reality,
the team let him down. That's what I'm saying.
Or is he potentially laying down the team, not being that force at the back
Did you hear this,
line?
ladies and gentlemen? He said Joker's letting down his team. Like, how do you combine that?
Because again, right? There's a certain level of defense. Why is Boston truly looked at as the team to be? Because of defense. Every player on their court can defend, right? Has an element of defense. Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, Porzingis as a rim protector, right?
Okay.
Joker is not a rim protector. Joker, not very. That is an area in which his game, unfortunately, comes up short. And as a center, it's tough to have that element come up short and your team be a force. Hence, why Denver is probably not the force we all believe them to be.
Okay.
And again, it's great to have numbers. Offense is great. And it's very important, especially in the playoffs. Under 5 minutes, you need a high percentage bucket. Joker is one of the guys you definitely want to have the ball in his hands. But at the same time, there's a liability on the other end.
So, you're talking Boston defense, right?
Yes.
How about talking about how Boston has elevated their 3-point shooting and the defense that you're talking about?
Boston shoots at a 34% clip threes. Great. But you know why they're able to shoot at that percentage and still
They're rebounding.
win? Yes.
And getting more possessions.
They rebound, yes. They
Play
defend.
fast tempo.
They defend.
Well, they have young stuff.
And all the players on the court are threat offensively. They all can dribble, shoot, pass.
Well, I know they're breaking.
And not many other teams
records
can
for
say
threes.
that. Yeah, they shoot the most threes, yes.
Basis. So
But if you look at their averages
the team,
of what
the
they
team
make,
is talented enough to make.
it's not like they're shooting 40-something% a clip.
You're gonna see Pitcher out there. He's gonna make a 3. You're gonna see Drew Holiday out there. He's gonna make a 3. I'm not even talking about the starters. You're talking about Derek White. He's gonna make a 3. Now here's this. You see Russell Westbrook out there. Joker now has to decide, what am I gonna do? He's wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna make that 3?
Yes, and again, general manager. You need to build up this.
Calvin Booth.
Yeah, and he's fired, right? So
I here's my thing. I think that Joker was frustrated not only with Jamal Murray, not only with Westbrook, with Porter Jr. I think he's frustrated with the whole team. If you ask me, I think he wants a trade out of Denver.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I'm telling you, because the team that he has now, there's no way I can see them reaching the title again unless you're going to switch out Michael Porter Jr. Gordon is solid for what he is, but Porter Jr. has to go, and you probably have to switch out Jamal Murray because you can't rely on him to make it down the stretch. So I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the topic that we're talking about today. Michael Malone fired, Jenkins from Memphis fired, premier coaches just ousted right before the playoffs. Any last word on that, Crown? You think anything should
Hey,
surprise us later on.
We'll see if these teams know what they're doing, because the playoffs are around the corner, and both Memphis and Denver, we'll see if this sparks something in these franchises.
And I think you're right. I think that they are looking at the season as a write-off. I think that if you're going to fire your head coach right before the playoffs, there's no chance that you think that you're going to win a title. That's not going to happen. Last word.